In the news tonight, His Majesty returns home from Washington after attending a nuclear security summit hosted by the U.S. President, who urged world leaders to do more to safeguard vulnerable nuclear facilities. A museum of parliamentary life opens in a historic building in Amman as part of celebrations of the Arab Revolt Centennial, documenting the evolution of the state since it was founded in 1921. And Syrian troops identify 45 bodies in a mass grave found in the city of Palmyra after it was recaptured, and journalists today toured the ruins to assess the extent of damage left by Daesh. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Here are the details. His Majesty returned home from a work visit to Washington, where he attended a summit hosted by the U.S. President on nuclear security. King Abdullah attended the closing session, which focused on policies to counter smuggling of nuclear materials and the foremost global security threat posed by terrorist organizations, preventing terrorist organizations from accessing nuclear and radioactive material. They agreed it requires international cooperation to exchange intelligence and build a global nuclear safety architecture. The session also discussed the use of nuclear material for civilian and peaceful purposes. Speaking from the Nuclear Security Summit in Washington, U.S. President Barack Obama urged world leaders to do more to safeguard vulnerable nuclear facilities. Obama welcomed more than 50 leaders from around the world to make sure they're working together to prevent terrorists getting their hands on a weapon of mass destruction. He said no terrorist group has succeeded in obtaining bomb materials yet, but he cited actions by Daesh behind recent attacks in Paris and Brussels that raised concerns.
Fortunately, because of our efforts so far, no terrorist group has yet. But we know that Al-Qaeda has tried. ISIL's already used chemical weapons in Syria and Iraq. And if they ever got hold of a nuclear weapon or nuclear material, we have no doubt they'd use it. That's why we've been leading a global effort to secure the world's nuclear materials. And with summits like this, we've made important progress. Working with other nations, we've removed or secured enough nuclear material for more than 150 nuclear weapons, material that will now never fall into the hands of terrorists. Our summit was also another opportunity to make sure the world remains united and focused on destroying ISIL. A majority of the nations who came here are part of our global coalition against ISIL. A number of our countries have been targeted by ISIL. Just about all of our nations have seen citizens travel to join ISIL in Syria and Iraq.
A meeting of the Jordan Investment Council, chaired by the Prime Minister, decided to offer additional incentives to new investment ventures and launch special development zones in the kingdom. Mansour told council members the investment law is above all economic laws, and unlike other entities, the Investment Council has the mandate to take decisions, urging conclusive decisions that promote and attract local, regional and foreign investments. While acknowledging the situation in the region and its impact on investment, Mansour said the focus should be on Jordan's advantage in terms of security, stability and attractive environment. The council reviewed the potential of broadening tax exemptions to a number of industries, such as those granted to the IT sector. The council hailed a recent government decision to cut down income tax outside the developmental zones operating in the less privileged areas of Jordan as having a positive effect on further enhancing the economic environment. The Museum of Parliamentary Life opened today as part of the Kingdom's celebrations of the Great Arab Revolt Centennial. Deputizing for His Majesty King Abdullah, Lower House Speaker Atif Tarawni attended the opening ceremony, coinciding with the 87th anniversary of the first Jordanian Parliament session, which convened on April 2nd, 1929. The museum showcases parliamentary work throughout history and documents the evolution of the Jordanian state since it was founded in 1921. Present at the ceremony was Minister of Culture Lana Mamkeh, who said the museum will serve as historic reference to Jordan's political and parliamentary life. Hosted in a historic building in Amman, the museum operates under the umbrella of the Ministry of Culture. The building saw key events in the history of the kingdom, such as the coronation of the late King Talal and King Hussein, the unification of the two banks, and the end of the Anglo-Jordanian Treaty. Syrian troops have identified 45 bodies in a mass grave found in the city of Palmyra after it was recaptured from Daesh. A military source said the communal grave on the eastern edge of the city is the only one found so far. It held the bodies of both civilians and Syrian army members captured by Daesh. The Syrian news agency yesterday said the grave contained many women and children, and some of the bodies were beheaded. Fighting, meanwhile, continued to the west of Palmyra between Syrian forces and Daesh terrorists around Qaryatain. The attacks are aimed at moving east across the desert to Deir ez-Zor near the Iraqi border. Today, journalists toured the ancient ruins in Palmyra to assess the extent of damage. Here's more.
The Syrian government has invited journalists to see what's left of the ancient city of Palmyra, a place UNESCO describes as a crossroads of cultures since the dawn of humanity. Last week, Syrian government forces, backed by Russian air support, drove Islamic State out of the city. Many ancient ruins suffered heavy damage, including the 2,000-year-old Temple of Bel. But others, like the Roman amphitheater, were largely intact. Under the militant group's radical ideology, the preservation of pre-Islamic monuments is seen as a form of idol worshipping. Syrian authorities say the city is not beyond repair, but the full extent of damage could take weeks to establish. Engineers also need to clear the ruins of mines. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad says Palmyra is a treasure of cultural heritage and has promised to restore it to its former glory.
And the fight against terrorism continues. The United States and allied forces targeted Daesh in Iraq and Syria with a total of 26 strikes over the past 24 hours. In Iraq, 7 of the 20 strikes were near Qayyara, hitting Daesh tactical units and an unmanned aerial vehicle used by the group. While in Syria, 4 of 6 strikes were near Ma'arra and destroyed 10 Daesh fighting positions. Meanwhile, the United States Department of Defense released a video of recent coalition airstrikes on Daesh terrorist group in Iraq. Coalition forces hit the administration building at Mosul University, where reports revealed that Daesh has been using a high-tech lab to build bombs and chemical weapons. The facility has also provided the group with uranium compounds, according to media reports. Turkey has begun work on 2 centers to process Syrian and other migrants after they return from Greece under a deal with the EU. Under the agreement, which comes into force next week, Turkey is to start receiving migrants who cross the Aegean Sea for Greece starting Monday, but so far details have been vague over how the transfer will be implemented. Work has started on a center in the major Aegean tourist resort of Çeşme in Izmir province, which faces the Greek island of Chios. That has been a major target for migrants. The 500 square meter area includes tents for fingerprinting migrants as well as sanitation facilities. Turkish officials say such centers are not refugee camps, but processing points from which the migrants will be sent elsewhere as soon as possible. Also in Dikili, in Izmir province, facing the Greek island of Lesbos, a readmission center is being established for migrants being sent back from Greece. There were reports of protests, meanwhile, in Dikili against bringing the scores of migrants back to Turkey. While in Greece, demonstrators took to the streets saying they are unable to move on with their lives because of tents in their fields. Here are the details.
Demonstrators in the Turkish town of Dikili rally to protest an EU plan that will bring scores of illegal migrants from Greece back to Turkey, some of them into temporary resettlements in this western town. Under the deal, Ankara receives money, plus fast-track talks for EU membership. The first group of returnees is expected to arrive in a day or two, but this Dikili resident says she shouldn't have to pay the price for her government's deal-making.
I don't have to put up with the results of the government's dirty politics. Let us pay 1,000 liras each and Europe can take the migrants. Those who want can shelter the refugees in their homes. My life comes first.
For weeks, thousands of migrants have been stranded in fields and makeshift camps outside the small Greek village of Idomeni, demanding passage to destinations further west. Some 100 local villagers blocked off the road to the camp, saying the migrants are starting to threaten their livelihoods, according to village prefect Santula Supli.
Residents cannot go to their fields and plant crops because there are tents and people on them, so it is an issue of survival.
The Greek government says it won't use force to remove the migrants, but it also says they have to move to official reception centers if they want to apply for a European relocation program. So for now, they remain in limbo. Neither the migrants nor the residents seem able to move on with their lives.
Brussels Airport will partially reopen for passenger flights tomorrow, 12 days after its departure hall was destroyed by suicide attacks. Since attacks, the airport has not handled passenger flights, and when it does open, it is set to run at only 20% capacity, with some 800 passengers departing per hour. Brussels Airport is one of the largest airports in Europe, handling 23.5 million passengers and 489,000 tons of freight annually. It also links the Belgian capital with 226 destinations worldwide through 77 different airlines.
As of tomorrow, Sunday, Brussels Airport should be partially operational. We should indeed receive the official authorization to start today. We have 3 passenger flights planned for tomorrow by Brussels Airlines to Faro, Turin and Athens.
Avant de pénétrer dans les bâtiments de l'aéroport,
before entering the airport building, an initial check will be carried out, a systematic pre-check of all people trying to enter the airport. We are going to check their travel documents, their ID documents, and make a comparison obviously between the two. We are also going to give them a security gate check and a baggage check.
In business news, Japan's Sharp Corporation signed a takeover deal today by Taiwan's Foxconn in what would be the largest acquisition by a foreign company in Japan's insular technology sector. The Taiwanese firm, known formally as Honhai Precision Industry Company, has offered to invest $5.9 billion in Sharp. Century-old Sharp was once a highly profitable manufacturer of premium TVs and a favored screen supplier to Apple, but it has struggled in recent years as massive investments in advanced LCD plants backfired amid price competition with Asian rivals. Sharp's LCD panel technology is expected to help consolidate Foxconn's position as the world's biggest assembler of Apple iPhones and iPads. For Sharp, Foxconn's ample funds will help stabilize its finances, while the Taiwanese company's global sales channels could help improve sales. Canada's famed Cirque du Soleil is bringing its act to Broadway for the first time with the show Par Amour. Par Amour mixes song, dance, acting and dazzling acrobats for a story of a young woman in Hollywood who must choose between love and her art. The show uses actors for the main action, while acrobats sometimes mimic the storyline in high-wire stunts or join in high-energy dance scenes and chases across rooftops. Par Amour was one of more than 20 current Cirque du Soleil spectacles, including the Beatles' Love, Michael Jackson one, and the water-inspired O. Previews begin in New York on the 16th, and the opening night is set for May 25th.
I think it's not so much equal as it is seamless. So we have 22 acrobats on stage, world-class acrobats that we've cast from every major country, literally, in the world, from China to Russia to Brazil to Canada. And those 22 acrobats have been woven into singing, dancing, acting corps of 16 traditional performers, and together they tell the story. And I would think that aside from a few specialty skills, the overall core looks like one seamless group of performers.
Ducati rider Shaz Davis ended Kawasaki's winning start to the World Superbike season as he earned a dominant win in the first race of the weekend in Aragon, Spain. Davis took the first race by 4.168 seconds clear from series leader Jonathan Rea, who had won the opening 3 races in Australia and Thailand. Rea's second place extended his series lead from 29 to 33 points. Davis' victory, his 10th in the series, moved him up to 3rd in the championship, 2 points behind Tom Sykes. The riders will be back in action in race 2 in tomorrow's round. Former California governor and movie star Arnold Schwarzenegger opened the Arnold Classic Brazil bodybuilding competition in Rio de Janeiro. The 3-day event will gather international bodybuilders, wrestlers, weightlifters and many more, hoping to flex their bronzed muscles in front of the Terminator himself. A panel of judges will preside over several competitions, including the Bodybuilding Pro and Strongman Pro, which is set out to name the world's strongest man. The event will also play host to the Arnold Model Search competition, in which 3,500 people signed up, hoping to make it to the 30 final spots to win a contract with BRM Models and sponsorship by Corpo Ideal Supplements.
For everybody, and we got to do some soul searching on this issue. Are we really making an effort?
And finally, cool conditions continue in most regions for the rest of tonight, while it will be fair in the Jordan Valley and the Dead Sea area with light variable winds. Tomorrow, warm spring conditions prevail as temperatures continue to rise above seasonal average and the winds southeasterly moderate. Further south, the Gulf of Aqaba should expect a relatively hot day, while winds will be northerly moderate and the seas calm. Here now is a look at temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. His Majesty returns home from Washington after attending a nuclear security summit hosted by the U.S. President, who urged world leaders to do more to safeguard vulnerable nuclear facilities. A museum of parliamentary life opens in a historic building in Amman as part of celebrations of the Arab Revolt Centennial, documenting the evolution of the state since it was founded in 1921. And Syrian troops identify 45 bodies in a mass grave found in the city of Palmyra after it was recaptured, and journalists today tour the ruins to assess the extent of damage left by Daesh. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Alat Khan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.